Sure. Hello. Hello. We'll we'll talk. We'll talk. We'll talk. I'm live. And I forgot that. Hi. I'm live and I forgot. I didn't even press the live button on Facebook. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. So I'm just going to go with it and say, hey, I'm just happy to be here. And I do this every time. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to sneak away. Sneak away, Harry. Sneak away. Sneak away. And I'm going to come back. And I'm back. And no one saw that. Nobody saw that, right? Oh, my Lord and Jesus. How are you all doing? It's Friday and it's Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It's Fearless Friday, actually. And I don't know how I didn't tag it like that. But it's Fearless Friday. So watch me tweet this. It's Fearless Friday. It's Fearless Friday. It's Fearless Friday. I didn't even share it. So I don't even know what I'm thinking. But it's Fearless Friday. I hope you can see me better. Is the light better today? I think I tried to fix it. We tried to fix it to see what on earth was going on. But I don't know. It's something else, right? It's something else. But it is quite the thing this morning. How are you all doing? I hope you had a better night than I did. I kept waking up last night. I think I was worried about the lawn is supposed to be done today, and I think my sinuses is a big deal. So I think that kept me up last night because I was like, oh my gosh, when they do the lawn, it's gonna send off all the stuff in the atmosphere. I'm just gonna have a bad time with my sinuses. So I think I was really worried about that this morning, but I had to fix it. You know how I fixed it? I went and got my cup of chai latte. Who else drinks chai? Anyone else drinks chai? Well, chai is the Swahili word for tea. And it's also, chai is the name for tea amongst most ethnic cultures that I know of. So if you know any better, let me know. In Turkey, in Pakistan, and in India, seems to me that people from the other side of the world sometimes get things better than we do. In some ways, culture is interesting, right? I love culture. I love interacting with people from different lands and asking them where you're from, what your cultures are like, what are your traditions, and so on. And I just have to tell you how interesting people can be. Yesterday, I went to a grant anyway. And when I went, it was hilarious. There was a gentleman who had an interesting idea. And as usual, Facebook is giving me a problem. I hate Facebook. I hate Facebook. You know that? I hate Facebook. Facebook ended my live broadcast and blames me, saying my poor wireless connection. No, I don't have a poor wireless connection. I have Comcast. Comcast is not a poor wireless connection. Okay? Facebook is full of it. Okay? So I'm going to tell all my friends on Facebook, hey, everybody, Facebook as usual is acting on. So give me 1 second. Hey, everybody. Facebook is acting out. Look out for my next link. Right? Facebook is just terrible. Right? So, and this happens all the time. I'm sick of Facebook. I think the government, that gentleman is probably right. You probably need to break up Facebook. The problem is Facebook owns all the other apps. It doesn't own Twitter, but it owns Instagram, it owns Snapchat. And in an effort to dominate the marketplace, what they have done is they have made it more difficult for themselves, right? They don't have a flipping clue as to what they're doing. They don't have the capability. Because trust me, I have maximum thingy on, what do you call it, on Comcast. So I don't have a problem with my internet feed. So I'm going to try to go live from another computer because this happens all the time, right? So there we go. So if you're watching me on Facebook, it says you're trying to reconnect. You can see me now. So that means you have to go join me again and again. I hate Facebook. Say hate Facebook. Hate Facebook. And now I'm finally going to join the movement for them to break it up because they dominate. They have Instagram. They have Snapchat. I think they bought out Tumblr, didn't they? Oh, who bought out Tumblr? Was it Yahoo? And so they're too big. And when a company gets that big, that means they have too much access and they become arrogant. Because now Facebook is trying, this is not the first time or the second time that Facebook has acted out with me while I'm broadcasting and have the nerve to make it seem like it's my fault. No, we have Comcast at home. So we have broadband capability to the gazoo. We have like at least 20 devices connected to Comcast and we don't glitch. If you're searching for something on either device, there are multiple tablets and interfaces. I have like 2 different sorts of tablet computers. I have like 4 laptops. At any given moment, they're all connected, plus what my children use, right? Plus what other people probably use. So this is one time when Comcast is not getting the blame. And I don't even like them either. You can tell that I'm not a fan of large companies that dominate because what I have found is that you know what, you remember back in 2008 when the economy was failing? Do y'all remember? And you remember when the saying was, you're too big to fail? Well, sometimes they're too big to operate. And when they become so big, and they have so much influence and dominate a space. And especially now that I'm going to put that feed sucks because whenever people or reconnect when there's nothing wrong with my Comcast feed, right? So it's Freaky Friday and it's Fearless Friday. And I just want to do a quick week in review. Stop making me laugh because it's just crazy. It's getting crazy around here. Let me see. Can everybody see me? Yeah. Kawan. Hey, baby. Kawan is my son from another mother. How are you? You haven't texted me all week. What's up? What's going on with that? Huh? Say hi. Say hi. So anyway, so I wanted to do a quick week in review. And just when I thought that my week was about to get better, I turned on my Facebook post, my Facebook feed this morning, something from my friend Linda Tarver, where she's commenting on the fact that a BBC host was fired because he contextualized the royal baby as a chimpanzee, right? The Duchess of Sussex and the Duke of Sussex, Meghan Markle to us commoners, is an American princess. She's the second. No, she might be the second one, but she's the most famous. She might be the second most famous American princess. Have you noticed how the media has not talked about that? Grace Kelly, but 100 years ago, or that's how long ago it seemed. It might have been like 60, 70 years ago. Grace Kelly was a Hollywood actress, right? She was an American actress, lived in Hollywood. She married Prince Rainier, who is a prince from Luxembourg, right? A little municipality in Europe. Like it's a tiny between like Spain, France, and Sweden and Switzerland. It's a tiny little country, right? You've heard of Monaco? Monaco is the capital city of Luxembourg. Okay, so everybody has heard of Monaco. Well, Princess Grace became a real life princess when she married someone who is royal. And the media went wild. only showed her in the most favorable terms. I mean, the girl was just a regular person when she became an actress, and then she fell in love with a real life friend. She was just a regular person, but you would have never thought that simply because why? Tell me why. Because she's white. Okay. So then fast forward, there have been other American women who have married real life princes. In fact, there was one who married a guy from Ethiopia, a black woman. They met at school, they met at Harvard, and she didn't know he was a prince. They fell in love. Then she found out he was a real life prince. So they got married. And I don't know, they live somewhere in Europe. They're royalty. So he travels with his own crew and with his own people and so on, right? So Meghan Markle is famous because she's an actress, right? And she is not nondescript. She's a person in her own right. So before she married the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, who is an heir to the British royal throne, she was someone, right? She had accomplished her own. She had made her mark. She lived her life fairly conservatively. She didn't run around, which is that's a whole other lesson for a whole other day. For a lot of these girls, for a lot of women who feel like they need to bow down to every man in order to make it. She didn't. She was married before. She waited to have children. She, kind of lived her life, what I would consider normally. So then she marries this guy who is white. And apparently, like we talked about yesterday, everybody went bonkers because people just love. People are so full of hate. And I am addressing it because I've had enough. I've had enough of the color biases attributable to a person simply because of the color of your skin. I have had enough. I personally have had enough. I've had it. It's up to here. A baby was born. Nobody worried about whether the baby had Down syndrome. Nobody worried about whether the baby had any kind of a spinal bifida or any kind of things that could have happened to a child coming out of the womb. All they were worried about is the color of the baby's skin. As if the color of your skin makes you a good person or a bad person. And the way in which they contextualize it, it's almost as if another baby is born who is black, and they make it sound like being black is something. Well, I have issue with that because I'm black. So if you think that the color of my skin dictates that I'm a good person or a bad person, bullet to you and sucks to be you. So this is for all the people out there, white, black, green, and yellow, who think that the color of a person's skin dictates who they are. That just sucks, and it's time out for that. And the rest of us need not sit back and say, oh, we need to start talking about it. Because if you start talking about it on your pages, on your social media pages, it's going to create something. Trust me, right? Because it's time out for that. They fired him not just because he said something wrong, but they fired him to shut it down. That kind of conversation does not have any space in today's argument. Nobody wants that because we don't want any more divisions. The world is anarchist already. If the major countries of the world and people in the major countries of the world, the Great Britain, France, and the United States, if those major countries, if the people in those major countries are already fractioning and are already having issues, and it seems like everybody is headed towards anarchy, the whole flipping world is going to be in bad shape. So they got to shut it down so people understand that this will not be tolerated. That's what that is. They're saying this is not going to be tolerated by anybody. So when the guy was fired, of course, he has sour oats now. He says, well, the BBC threw him under a bus. What he's trying to say is that kind of conversation had taken place amongst all of them at the BBC, in their rooms, in their conversations, in their gatherings, but yet they threw him under the bus. Well, they were going to make an example of whoever it is. It's not just him. If someone else had said it, they're going to do it. So they're setting it up so that if someone else says it, understand that if you say it, you're going to be fired too. And here's the thing. I'm particularly angry with it because the media, both liberal media and the conservative media, are color biased, right? The conservative media is color biased, and so is the liberal media. I don't know why you call it the liberal media, because to me, they're very biased. They talk about Black people in derogatory terms. They talk about Black children in derogatory terms. White children, as far as I know, do crazy stuff. I had a lady call me the other day asking me what she should do. Her grandson is opioid addicted at 17. And I'm like, so where did he get the drugs? On the school bus. Well, who did he get it from on the school bus? He got it from the girls on the school bus who are peddling drugs. And she sells the drugs every morning on their way to school. You don't hear about that, do you? Do you hear about that? No. But a Black kid anywhere in America or in Great Britain or in France or anywhere does something like that. Oh my God. It's like the world has come crashing down. And you all think, I know you're all looking at me and I'm saying exactly what you want to say, but you are not saying it. That's all. So you are like, you talk, Harriet, you talk. And then what do? Are you going to support me? Are you going to like my status when I say it on social media? Because if we don't, this kind of stuff is going to happen. And if you don't believe me, just keep watching. If we had imagined 30 years ago, social scientists were saying that by the year 2020, most of America would be brown. And they were thinking at the time, 30 years ago, they were thinking that by the year 2020, because most people would be brown, racism would almost be done. Well, it's 2020, and racism is as racist at its peak as it has ever been before. So what does that tell you? Thinking about it, you have to do something about it. And this is how you stop watching the media. I have stopped watching them because they're too racist to be true. When Barack Obama was president, anybody remember that Black man who was president? Anybody remembers him? The liberal media treated him like a dog. They talked about him endlessly. One day, the man dared to wear a tan suit, and they cursed. They carried on how he was a disgrace to the presidency. And this man in the White House does whatever he wants, and they're just like, well, it's just another day in the shade. That's racism. And that's coming from both the liberal and conservative media. You've got to understand something about America. People who claim to be liberals are some of the most racist people I've ever met. Those are the people who say, I'm not racist. I have a Black friend. Look at me. My chief of staff is Black. And you are standing there like, no, you did not just say that. You've got to understand that. Liberal people who claim to have liberal views because they choose to go anti-establishment, they choose to, whatever viewpoints they think they do it. First of all, they believe what they believe because they think they're entitled to. That's the first thing. It doesn't come from a place of genuine belief where they think that, I really think that people of color are being marginalized, or I think that people of color are being disproportionately treated. No, they don't really think like that. They're just saying, I am white and I can afford to join whatever cause I want to because I can and I'm entitled to it. That's really what liberal people believe. So this is what you don't see me joining these movements and jumping on bandwagons and so no. I used to support Joe Biden until I did some research and found out he was the architect of mass incarceration. I liked the Clintons because they seem to have supported Black families until I found out they started mass incarceration. They started welfare reform that disproportionately placed more Black people in jail because of poverty. Hello. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you see me sitting on the fence, it's because I have to sit on the fence and observe, because I'm really like, who is going to support Blacks? I hear other people calling for reparations now. When are Black people in America going to start calling for reparations? When are you going to start rising up and say, okay, so you're not going to give me 40 acres and a mule, but you're going to give me the equivalent in what it means today. And you go directly after the people from the South who own the plantations and whose descendants are still alive today. You don't believe that their descendants are alive. They are running public policy and they still own stuff, right? If it were me, but I can't claim it, right? right? Do you see what I'm saying? So racism, when you put it into context, racism is alive and well. If I call it born while black. So this baby was born while black and it upset the whole world. If you drive while black, it's a problem. If you talk while black, it's a problem. Just being black is a problem. Well, it's time out for the people who are white to be a problem. Racist. Being white is racist. How about that? No, because it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. Totally. Just totally ridiculous. Leave the baby alone. Leave people alone. Have you been to California lately? When you go to places like Southern California and you see how that's how America is going to look. People of all races, people just join up with one another because they like each other. They don't care where they come from. They don't care if your skin is brown, your skin is blue, your skin is red, your skin is white. People are just people. That's really how this was designed to be. It was never designed that people are white, brown, and red. Years ago, I was at a flea market. I lived in Central Florida, and I had just started selling my books and stuff. So I had this plan to sell my books. So I was thinking of ways to start organically. So I went to a flea market and I was busy buying stuff. And then I said, you need to go get a booth. So the next week I showed up at a booth, but I didn't have my books printed yet, but I had flyers that my books were going to come out, right? Hope. Talk about vision, right? And the guy who shared the space next to me was a white man. So when my ex-husband was with me, and so he asked questions about my ethnicity. Now you got to understand that I was new in America, so racism was I didn't know how to recognize it, and I didn't know how. I just thought people were rude, but I didn't realize that the reason they behaved like that was because they had stuff going on in their heads, because it was unimaginable to me. For many reasons. One, I couldn't imagine why you were going to judge someone by the color of their skin. That was one. And number two, how dare you? You come from a trailer park problem. Probably ate possum or roadkill this morning. And you have the nerve to look at me funny or talk to me funny. I should be looking down on you. So that was my attitude. I couldn't imagine that anybody would look at anybody. So anyway, so the guy next door to me started talking about my ethnicity. And he made some comments when my ex-husband was not around. That after I told my ex-husband, he said, it's a good thing you told me after I left, because if I go back there next week, I'd find him. So, but one of the things he said to me was this. He said to me, you can talk all you want about, he called it racial disparities and economic unempowerment. But he said, the truth of the matter is, why is it that the wealthiest nations of the world live in the North and are white? And I went like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, did you read history? And he looked at me and I said, did you read history? I said, go look up the migratory patterns of people. And he said, the what? I said, that's exactly the problem. I said, which school did you go to? Right? I said, if you go look at the migratory patterns of people, you will find that people trekked across the Bering Straits and walked into Northern Europe, and they stayed there longer. So the melanin, they didn't need melanin to cope. So the melanin, over time, their blood systems evolved. I said, that's social economics. So he just looked at me. And because what he was brought up, he was like, well, you shouldn't have married a black man. You are diluting the race. When I told my ex-husband that, I swear to you, he said, if I go back there next week and see that, I am going to punch his daylights out. But I literally was stunned. I think I was more surprised at the boldness of someone defending their racist ideology right in front of my face. And look at the rest of you looking at me like, oh, he said what? He did say that. And it has not failed me over time. I kid you not. I kid you not. It does not fail me. Over time, I keep hearing stuff like that over and over again. And people don't realize sometimes the things they say, how uncomfortable it makes you, because you are looking at it and you're like, what? Now, what do you say to people? Why would you say that to someone? Because I don't look at you and tell you, wow, the color of your skin, you mixed with someone else, so you shouldn't have. I don't do that. First of all, I think it's offensive. Secondly, I don't have time for that. I don't think like that. I am more interested in who you are and what you can do that enhances society. So I look at you as a human being with a contribution to make. So I'm going to look at you and figure out what kind of contribution you're going to make, or do you need help? You see what I'm saying? So far be it from me to think that all human beings were literally created equal, that black, white, yellow, green, or red, doesn't matter where you come from, we are created equal. And that our whole purpose for being here is to help one another, help yourself, help one another, right? And to enhance creation. Sorry, that's how I think. So I think that you being here is to help somebody else. I think my purpose for being here is to help others. This week I was writing a grant on sexual violence prevention, right? And one of the things that emerged out of sexual violence is the disparities that occur as a result of health. So health has certain disparities. So in other words, there are conditions that preclude people from accessing good health care. Had I not lived it, I would never have known. I was thinking about it because a few weeks ago, there's somebody on my Facebook page the person has what they might consider age spots, but to me, those are indicative of something wrong with the melanin in their skin, right? The person is very light and to me, they need to go check that out because there's something wrong and they need to go figure it out. But I had to think about contextually who the person is, where they grew up, where they come from in the society. And it became apparent that there were certain conditions that might have precluded them having a good diagnosis years ago. Here's why. I had the same things on my face when I was young. I was 18 when they first appeared. I was 18 years old and I was out in the sun a lot and I broke out in hives. Like I had big brown spots on my skin that alarmed me. I had good health insurance. So it was natural. You went to the doctor and the doctor referred you to a dermatologist and the dermatologist told me what to do about it. They didn't just tell me go home and blah, blah, blah. They said for the rest of your natural life, you have to stay out of the sun, wear a hat, wear long sleeve shirts, otherwise, and go live in the coolest parts of the world, like in the northern United States or Canada. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem, right? So for years, when I lived in Montego Bay, I wore a hat in the sun. Well, Montego Bay, Jamaica is hot all the time. The sun is always shining. So I wore a hat all the time and wore stuff over my skin. People thought I was being snobbish. Do you see culture and society and socialisms and so on? I just ignored it because I'm like, I'm trying to stay alive. And you think I'm wearing a hat and covering because you think I'm trying. Do you see what I mean? So fast forward, I come to the United States. I live here in North America. I live in the northern part of the United States, right? I live in Michigan. Northern, right? So cold most of the time. It is May and we haven't seen the sun much since winter ended. But it's good for me and good, right? So when I look at this person, you know what immediately came to mind? The social determinants of health. One of the social issues that prevent people from accessing good healthcare is what? Say it. Racism. Where people live, work, and earn, right, determines the quality of healthcare they're given. And even if you have great health insurance, chances are when you walk into a medical facility for treatment, they're still going to treat you based on the color of your skin because medical providers have varying perceptions of people, and it is not precluded by anything but good old-fashioned racism. That is a study that has been done and cataloged since 1994. This is something done by a group of white people who said we're having too many issues. They were seeing too many Black folks come into their facilities and dying from preventable diseases such as heart disease, blood pressure, and diabetes. That's where the study started. And they began to talk to people and realize that what was going on was the medical profession and the way they treat people. So I'm looking at this young lady and I'm like, if someone had told her years ago to make sure when she's out in the sun to cover her head and wear clothing that covers her skin, she probably is not going to have the health problem, the health condition I know she's going to have, because I recognize it, because that was me many years ago. And from the day the doctor told me what to do, Harriet wears a visor and a hat during the summer. Last summer I didn't cover my skin. You can still see the effects. I think I went out a few days without covering because I forgot. And then my skin burnt so badly. But then I had a remedy. I could go, I knew what it was to do. I went to the doctor, they knew what to do, right? So when I talk about ending racism, I'm talking about it because it has a direct impact on people's lives. It has a direct impact on how people get access to healthcare. For instance, you don't believe me? One of the things that is happening in maternal health, so women get pregnant. What we're finding is that women of color, irrespective of her socioeconomic status, goes into the doctor pregnant, and by the time the baby's born, she's dead, or she dies shortly after because of the quality of healthcare she's given. Now, even when her socioeconomic status dictates what kind of health insurance she has, the perception given by the medical profession is that she's treated with disrespect. Now, my mouth is not sanctified. My soul is sanctified. I promise you. They do call me reverend for a reason. My soul is sanctified, but my mouth is not. So when these kinds of things happen, I do speak up. I will observe it because I'm trying to, let me see now. And then I'm going to talk about it. And it was something that happened. I had to talk about, my regular doctor. I'd been going there for years, but after a while, the stuff comes off and I'm like, I don't think I like how this feels. So I talked to them about it. I don't know if the person is still there that was on my last visit last fall. And I said, you guys need to do something about this. I said, because I like the doctor. I like coming here, but if this doesn't change, I'm not coming back. I said, because I don't like how this lands. I said, and they had to look at it. They didn't say anything. They listened, but they apologized. But I'm like, I came here because I like the doctor, and I have studies have found that if you stay with the same doctor over time, they're most likely to spot something changing in your body than a new doctor would, because they have your history. It's like when you go to the doctor, they pull your file and they read you your history, right? And they tell you on your last visit so-and-so, and then they can flip back a few years and then they can see, so a pattern can emerge. Exactly. So if you have a good doctor, stay with them. If you don't, find one and stick with them. Find a doctor whom you're comfortable with and whom you think has your best interest at heart. Because trust me, the social determinants of health are an important crucible. Now, the way this whole thing was coming together for me was 2 or 3 years ago. I was invited to speak at the Arkansas Minority Health Commission's forum on this very topic, the social determinants of health. They asked me to speak on violence because I had talked about ending violence against women and girls for so long. And they asked me to show how violence impacts people's health. I had a plethora of information. I talked about mine, but I also talked about the people whom I had encountered in my career in healthcare and how I had seen how violence played a role and how perceptions played a role. So when I looked at when we stood back, all of the participants, what emerged from the conference was, we have a problem because this has been going on for some time. Now, when I went to Arkansas, this is Arkansas, this is Southern, this is Bible Belt State, this is as Southern as it can get. When we were in the room the evening before the forum, we were at a reception. And in the room, of course, were the policymakers who were mostly white. You know what was strange? The white legislators became more concerned that so many people were ending up in the criminal justice system with mental health issues and with physical health issues, that they said after a while, we had to realize we were locking up people indiscriminately. And they were agitating for change. But as much as they were agitating for change, they encountered a system-wide issue of racism that kind of just locked everybody in, and everybody was just like, whoa, 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 we got to change it from within. Sometimes the most effective, meaningful change is the one that comes from within. It's just like the royal baby being born. Why are we just talking about the baby's color? We need a change. Maybe that's why Harry married Meghan. Because there needs to be a change. So he's proving that if I do it from here at the top, it's going to trickle down and have a trickle down effect and go all the way down. Sometimes that's the most meaningful change that could come. So when I talk about racism, and when you hear us talk about racism in the media, not just in the liberal media and the conservative media, all media, they're racist to the core, because immediately they see you and your achievements from the perspective of color. They don't see me as a person. No, they see me in a box. The box I come out of, I have the trifecta. I'm Black, female, and an immigrant. That's the trifecta. So they don't see beyond the color and the box. They don't see what I have done. They don't see the person and quantify my worth based on my personhood. So you're going to take somebody who has never done anything, and just because their skin is white, you're going to attach to them all the accolades, and you're going to attach importance to them just because of the color of their skin. Do you see now why this is wrong? It's wrong. It was wrong 100 years ago. It was wrong 200 years ago. It's wrong today. And my own feeling is, if we don't work to change that now, we are going to have a problem. We're headed slam bam into the problem because we refuse to change. Yes, we refuse to change. We have all the data, we have all the information, and we still are clinging to old ideas that do not work. It's like you look at TV. Anybody look at TV? Count on your hands how many Black anchors are there. I'm waiting. I'll wait. Count. Okay. That's the problem. How many Hispanic? I'm going to wait. How many Arab? I'm still waiting on your count. It's too white. It's time for the change. And do you know they listen to me? Yeah, they do. Of course they do. They do listen. Yes, they do, because they have to see if what I'm saying is lining up with prevailing ideology. And when it suits them, they go copy ideas from people like me when it suits them without giving you the credit. And then they go make something of it. And it doesn't help that we infight. One thing I like about the white race is that they're united as it comes. They're very united. But us, we fight against one another. We are ethnically creating our own genocide, right? And we got to stop it. Let me tell you something. I have proven over and over again, a house divided against itself will never stand. United, you will achieve something, but divided, you ain't getting nothing. You can't open the door and lead the devil in and expect that he's going to sit down and take a seat. He's going to wreak havoc. right? So when you look at this within the context, I hope next week when more pictures of the baby come out, they're going to show more pictures of the baby as he grows because they're very proud of him. It's their child. They created him. He's a product of their bodies and their love, right? They're going to show more pictures and people are going to fall out. People are going to fall out and have a connuption and have a fit at trying this. It's going to be hilarious. The week in review, what a week that was, right? And in the midst of this, they're worried about the color of a baby. And two white boys in Colorado shot up another school, recreating a Columbine effect. Was there something wrong with Born Wild White? I'm going to wait for that. But Born Wild Black, even to a royal family, and you have issues with that. Do you know how many Black royal families there are in the world? There are some in Somalia, Nigeria, Ethiopia. They're all over Africa, the Maldives, everywhere. Are you going to worry about a baby born Black and the two white kids who were born white and who have been shooting up schools consistently? The media doesn't have a problem with that. I'm waiting for them to come out with a mental health issue. You need to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. A friend of mine likes to say that we don't have the Martin Luther King mindset. That's why we're not achieving anything. And Martin Luther King brought a consensus of people from everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. And then they killed him. And she looks at me like I said, yeah. And where is he now? He's dead. And since then, nobody has done that. You want to know why? And she said, well, what is the solution? I said, the solution is they have divided and conquered, and we need to talk about it. Martin Luther King gave his life for what he believed. He did not stop. He did not stop. He talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. He was vociferous. He was vocal. He talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. It's not enough for you and I to walk away and go to be anonymous in our bedrooms, in our living rooms, in our family rooms, and in our cars. It's not enough. It's not enough. We, the generation who came immediately after civil rights, we're the ones who have been the most silent. We haven't done jack. We sat back and reaped the benefits and sat back and watched this whole thing spiral out of control. And the generation coming up, the ones who are going to vote for the first time in 2020, those poor suckers are the ones who are trying to figure out how they're going to change this. They're like, well, the first place I'm starting is with a vote. Tell me how this political process works. I tell you, going around young people today, the first questions they're asking is how this political thing works. How do I do this? I'm like, wow, welcome. Do something. Make a change, right? We've got to stop it. Ladies and gentlemen of color, because that's primarily who you are, we've got to start talking about it. When they talk about Meghan Markle's baby being Black, they're talking about me and you being Black. They're trying to say that being Black is a problem. Being Black is not a problem, and being Black is not bad. And even if you think that being Black is not bad, you need to stand up and say something. Because I'm going to stand up and say it. I don't care what they're going to do. What they're going to do? Not buy my books? Okay, I'm still going to eat. I'm still going to drive. And I'm still going to live in my house. There comes a point at which, what's going to happen when your kids have babies? What if it is your child who grows up to be famous? And they're going to talk about your grandbaby being Black. You're going to like it? No, you're not going to like it. It's time out for that, right? It's just crazy. And then on the other hand, and you know, most of the bullying that comes at her is online. You should read some of the comments that they make about this poor woman having a child. And at first I was like, they're just envious because he didn't choose one of them. But then you have to see it. If she were white, they wouldn't talk about her like that, because the brother of Prince William married a white woman who does not have Meghan's credentials. But nobody called her baby any other color. a few years ago, 2 years ago, I went to Channel 4 here in Detroit. They don't talk to me because I call them out. Channel 4, NBC. And I went to them because a producer there is someone I knew. And I wanted them to do a cover story on human trafficking. And I wanted to talk about what some of us were doing here, right? So this is me. You know me, right? You know I'm going to talk about this stuff. And I went, and the producer is Black. And so he told me, he said, I didn't want to tell you after he introduced me to everybody. He said, but they're not going to listen to you because it's not happening to white people. It's not happening to white girls. And they're not going to want to show a Black woman offering a solution to a problem. He told me straight up, yes, this happened at the NBC local affiliate right here. They're not even an affiliate. They are NBC here in Detroit. The producers would not do the story. They would not do the story. I kid you not. Colorism is real, right? This is how biased the media is. It is so biased that they will take a camera and chase people in Detroit just to show how bad it is. But they won't give you the different classifications of crimes that occur in Metro Detroit. That's what we're talking about. That's racism. And that is what we need to work on, right? I met Representative Rashida Tlaib about back in January, I think, when it was really bad. You know, the weather was bad, and I had this event to go to, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it because the weather is really bad. And they're like, you got to come. I got there late. I mean, I got lost driving around. And when I asked her this question, what was one of the driving reasons why you ran for office at this level? And she said, because her sister is on a no-fly list because she wears a hijab. And she said that had to change. And that motivated her to run for office. You know who Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is, right? She's Muslim. And she represents the 13th Congressional District, the 14th United States Congressional District of Michigan. Right? Sometimes it becomes so personal, it had to change. I started talking about ending violence against women and girls because it happened to me. I talk about ending sexual violence against children because what? I was sexually violated when I was 6 years old. So I talk about it because it has to change, right? Racism happens to me. Not the funny thing is it's never overt. But then again, like I said, my filters are different. So maybe it could be overt, but it lands on me different because I'm not used to it. And it's been 20 years now, 20 plus years, and I'm still not used to it. I probably need to get with it. But when it does happen and it's pointedly racist, I talk. I don't joke. I tell it like it is. You don't like it? Tough luck. It's your problem. But I'm going to tell you. And you don't want me to talk about it too much because I'm going to tell people what you do. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to be vociferous, not just for yourself, but think of the impact coming. When Martin Luther King was walking, he wasn't thinking of himself. He wasn't thinking how much this was going to help him. He was thinking of those 4 children, what kind of world they're going to live in, that he wasn't complete. He wasn't satisfied with them living like this. And that's how we have to look at it. Hey, you're sending your children to college, right? Your children are graduating with degrees. Some of them have multiple degrees. They have master's degrees and all kinds of accomplishments, educational accomplishments. What world are they going to live in? What world is going to define their existence? Think about that. What kind of world are they going to live in? Are you happy with the condition of this world? When your children go and apply for a job, are they going to get the job because they're black or white, or are they going to get the job because they're the best candidate for the job? I guarantee you, they and other applicants apply. They might not even be considered, even if their qualifications are superfluous and are beyond the extraordinary. Listen to the conversations we have with our children. We tell them they have to be 20 times better than the next person. We tell them they have to be 20 times better because that's the only way they're going to stand out. I tell my children, you stand out, but you have to stand out because in a sea of faces, everybody looks alike. You're not going to get ahead. You have to stand out. So build yourself. I shouldn't have to tell my kids that. It should be that they accomplish something and they arrive and they are treated with the same level of respect and consideration based on the fact that they show up. That's what I'm saying. When I show up, treat me with the same level of respect and accord me the same value just because I show up. I'm a human being. I look like a human being. I walk like a human being. I talk like a human being. I am a damn human being. Treat me like that. Don't treat me based on how I sound. Don't treat me based on how I look. Treat me as if I'm a human being. That's what we need to take a stand on. Treat me, for God's sake, like I'm the human being. If you want to disparage against something, there's a separate class and a separate race. There's only one race. It's the human race. There are classes of animals. Go make the distinction between the lion and the tiger and the dog and the cat and the snake and the alligator and the crocodile. But human beings are one people. It's one group of people. Stop looking at people based on the color of their skin. Martin Luther King is right. He was right 70 years ago. He's right today, and it's going to be right forever and a day. Treat people according to the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And if we don't talk about it, this stuff is not going to change. When you go to the doctor, look at how they're treating you. I guarantee you that you might be upper middle class Black. You show up, but they're going to give the right person more credence and better quality of service than they're going to give you when you have 20 times the worth. A few years ago, I was talking to someone and he said, I don't understand why people who are billionaires, we're talking within the context of color, right? And he said, I don't understand why the people who are millionaires are complaining. I said, because they're driving the $1 million car out of their gated community and they get pulled over by the police, flashing lights because they're Black. I said, they go into a store that they can afford to buy everything in the store, buy out the store. And they're treated badly because they're Black. I said, that is why. And he said, Jesus. I said, no, you walk in there with me. I can buy everything in here. You can't, but they're going to treat you better. I took a girl to coffee once and she was going to do some work for me. She was a contractor going to do some work for me. She's white and I am me. All day. We walk into Starbucks and the person behind the counter treated her and she's standing behind me. You know what he said? Ma'am, I'll be right with you. I looked at her. He looked right past me. She turned beet red. She was going to say something. I said, no, don't say anything. Because she was almost going to say, this is my boss. I said, don't say anything. I said, no. And then when it was, so I asked her what she wanted. Then I told him. He looked at her as if he needed her consent first. Then I took out my card to pay for it. That's when he realized. So the person who was standing beside him is white too. And the other person who was making the beverage was Black. And they were all standing there and they looked at him. Like, you must be out of your mind. And I was just standing there like, today's not the day. I'm not about to fight this battle because you are clearly stupid. I am telling you. No, we showed up. I am the one with the money. I am the one with the name and everything else. But because her skin is white, he was going to act as if she was she was better. Oh my God. Do you see what I'm saying? And when I was talking about it, she said, maybe we should do something about this. I said, no, I'm not. I said, he's insignificant. And maybe a few months later, those two boys in Philadelphia had a problem with Starbucks. Maybe if I had said something about it, right? But I didn't. I never went back to that Starbucks because I think the service sucks. I also don't like the quality of their bathroom. So that was another thing, right? So I never went back there. I think the service sucks. And I don't even buy Starbucks, but it was the closest thing to where we both could have met. And, it was what it was, right? But the point I'm making is you got to talk up. If we don't talk up, next week I'm going to tell you more about what I found out about social determinants of health. And forgive me, I don't know why I never talked about this before. I don't know. I don't know why I never talked about it. I have to show you documented evidence and give you the facts and the statistics that show you how people are racially segregated and how your healthcare is being impacted by the color of your skin. We already know we don't get loans. You already know you get lower credit limits, even though your salary is higher than your neighbor, but you get lower credit limits. You'll pay more on your mortgage and your car note based on the color of your skin. And you are like, but Harriet, I have great credit. When I apply, they don't know. Yeah, your profile shows up when you apply. Did you know that? They don't tell you that, do they? But your profile is attached to your social security number. It's not like they just take a random social security number with a random birth date attached to it and they just calculate that's what they want you to believe. But no, your whole profile shows up. So next week, I'm going to show you the racial disparities, the disparities that exist in healthcare as a result of the color of your skin. So now, all this time I've been talking for 4 months. Actually, I've been talking for years about this stuff. I've been on radio, y'all. I've been talking, I've used media, I've been talking and talking and talking. And I want my people to move. And people, we gotta move. Come on. You can't sit still. Our time on the earth is passing. We're but a vapor. Our time will pass. What is going to be your legacy? What is going to be your mark? That you were just here? Sometimes when someone dies, people post stuff on Facebook and so on. I'm reading their obituaries because I'm curious about what did they do while they were here. I hear family members saying mom was this, dad was that, mom was this, that. So they made an impact immediately on the people immediately around them. But what of the wider community? Those of you who listen to me, you are your own influencers. You are people whom others, the people in your community, look up to. Are you having these conversations? Are you repeating this? Are you bringing these things to the fore? It's not enough for us to shake our heads and walk away. It is our battle. I was like that for years. I was like, you are not getting me involved in that. I'm like, oh no, I just want to be a person. I just want to be a person. Until it started coming to me, dude. And I was like, wait, just a minute. That's not how this cookie goes. That's not how this party plays. It doesn't work like that around here. You can't talk to me like that. You can't disparage against me for something I had nothing to do with. You're going to talk to me. You're going to talk to me and respect me in my personhood. You're not just going to talk to me because you think you can. No. I will shut you up and lock you down. You don't know who you're talking to. That's what I'm saying. You have the power. Why do you think you don't? They don't want you to know that you have the power. Why do you think they're working on constitutional crises? You know why? They want to take the power away. Because if you really wake up and realize that you have the power, hello. It's just like you walk into an establishment and they mistreat you. And you know the whole reason why they mistreat you is not because you threw a fit, not because you were rude, because sometimes we are rude and sassy. Yeah? And we're objectionable and rude and deliberately rude. Right? But sometimes, more often than not, guess what? We're mistreated because of the color of our skin. Now, if you don't talk about that, and if you don't call it out and report them to the relevant authorities, nothing is going to change. 5 years ago, I bought my truck. I went to an auction and I saw something I liked and I bought it. They gave me a price, paid for it, walked out of there. Right? The people whom I bought it through did not release the title, even though I paid them. I kept my receipt. So I went to the police. Don't play with me. I gave you enough time. The police said, here's where you go. I marched right up into the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I told them what my problem was. And they took me to see the investigator right away. The investigator said, do you have a phone number for these people? So I said, yes. He said, give it to me. He called them on the phone and he said, I have Miss Kimmick here. She's showing me paperwork that she bought this vehicle and she paid for it. And she hasn't received the release of her title. Is that true? The person almost peed in their pants. Do you hear me? You know what happened? The investigator said, you have 1 hour to meet me here today. He told me to leave. I left. I went back in an hour. They released the title. You know what happened after that? They shut them down. Can't do business anymore. The investigator later told me that he had had a complaint prior to, and he couldn't catch the person. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't let them get away with it. You have to show them your power. No, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If we always are afraid, nothing will ever change. And they want you to be afraid. Don't be. Show the heck up. Demand the service be given to you and know what your rights are. Yes, you do know what they are. Yes, you do. As long as you're not disturbing the peace, as long as you're maintaining your integrity and you're not disturbing the peace, deal with it, right? Let them go figure out what they need to do, but give them the hell that they're giving back to you, right? Why? Why are you going to disparage against me based on how I look? I have no control over that. It makes you wonder then. This is something that I have found myself thinking a lot about lately. If they can treat you this badly based on how you look, what do they do to someone in a wheelchair? What do they do to someone who has a speech disability? What do they do? Talk to me. What do they do to autistic children and children with Down syndrome? What do they do to veterans who are suffering from PTSD? If I look normal and act normal and you can disparage against me for the color of my skin, what do they do to people who are Black and disabled? Talk to me, somebody. Oh, you think I'm making a case? Wait until it happens to you. Wait until you have to show up with a child who is autistic and you're Black. So you're like quadruple trifecta. Week in review. That was it. And then you had Aisha Curry going crazy about what she said or didn't say. The end of that is she said it. The end of that is someday, may not happen today, she's going to find herself alone without a good husband. Then she's going to know what it is like to be with people whom she claims she admires. Because really what it is, she's not getting attention from the people whom she wants to get attention from. She wants them to see her, but they're staying away from her because they think she's married. And so they're not interfering with it. So if she's married, they're not going to play with her. But she's not. So when she becomes unmarried, when she's not married, that's when she'll get the attention she wants. It brings to mind that a lot of women don't know how to be when they're married. People just don't. There are certain things you just don't do. You're supposed to know that. You don't have a public dispute with your husband, right? And you don't talk about your husband not giving you enough attention publicly to embarrass him, especially if your husband is a public person. I'm not talking about these fake people who claim public profiles. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who are well known, right? It's just something you don't do, right? It's something you are supposed to know. You don't do that. They should have told you that and reiterated it from you were little. So that's just gonna be like in a few, right? And yet this was the same person a few years ago who was saying, oh, to all the women who don't do it right, I did it right. And that's why I got the husband and so on. And now you're saying you don't get enough attention. So I was talking about it. I raised the subject yesterday with my youngest daughter. And she said, well, Mom, she was just saying that it was taken out of context. She said that because when she was growing up, she didn't get enough male attention. I said, that's the problem right there. I said, your self-esteem. She said she has self-esteem issues. But I said, but that's the problem. Your self-esteem is the way you see yourself, the way you feel about yourself. Your self-esteem is not based on how men see you. That's the wrong compilation in the first place. Your self-esteem is based on you and your value, your perceived value to yourself. That's your self-esteem. Your self-esteem is about you and how you feel about yourself. Has nothing to do with men. Because here's the thing. What if one day some guy tells you don't look great? Is that going to destroy your self-esteem? Your self-esteem cannot be based on external factors. It has to be based on within. What's the content within you? What is within you? How do you see yourself? Right? What a week in review. Freaky Friday. So it's Fearless Friday, right? So go out and be entirely fearless, right? And I want us all to think about this, because there are disparate number of African Americans who are dying from preventable diseases. And it's a lot of it has to do with access to healthcare based on poverty, right? Marginalization. You talk about gerrymandering and redlining of districts. The government actually started redlining districts from 1937. So it was the government who first did, and private enterprise just perpetuated it, right? But the end result of it is that people are tremendously marginalized, even when you come from even when you live in a nice zip code, even when you live in a zip code that is predominantly wealthy, even when your street address, for crying out loud, dictates how well off you are. People are still, once a person of color enters a medical establishment, you are still treated with a lot of disparity simply based by medical providers. Happens all the time. They see you come in and they start giving you a sad face and an unhappy face, and they chat up the white person, but they treat you like it's nothing. When you get them, you have to say, excuse me, I'm a person. I don't appreciate that, because I noticed you were friendlier to someone whose skin color was different. What's the difference? My insurance is still paying for it. Are you getting paid for my visit today? By my insurance, regardless of who pays the insurance, you're getting paid, right? Okay, so you should treat me with the respect and decency that comes with that. You don't have to be sassy. You don't have to be obnoxious. You can simply stand in your personhood and state your truth. I really don't appreciate how that was handled. And if you don't mind, I'd like to speak with your superiors. And you'd be amazed how people come forward quickly and apologize. And especially if you pull out your business card and say, I really don't appreciate it. See, what they have made us think is that you can't do this. So we hesitate to bring forward the full weight of who we are. But you should bring out your business card. My services were handled. I really do not like the image that conveys and the messaging behind it. Who's your superior today? Who is here today? Who is in charge? And you ask for it and you let them know, here's my business card. So this is who I am. My name, that's me all day. Right? And you'd be surprised, right? On this subject today. You have to let people know, let them know they have messed up. You have to let them know. I got to go. See, Facebook is about to shut me down. If this message has been a blessing to you, go to my website, harrietkamak.com, as well as go to the Exodus Found a donation to help us deliver the services that we do. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. And I am out of time. Thanks to Facebook. Thanks to Facebook, right? Trying to reconnect. Like, really? Facebook? Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Facebook. Hello. Oh, I can't believe. Sorry, I thought this had ended. Why is it still on?